Okay, you guys, some late night paper crafting. I don't know, just because it's late at night and I'm waiting for something to cool off before I can put it in the fridge. I made some pickles earlier today or this evening, and they're so hot I don't want to put them in the fridge yet. So I'm waiting for the jars to cool off, and then I can put them in the fridge and not feel like they're going to, heat up everything else that's in the fridge, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So, anyway, here's what I have been working on. I decided I wanted to make one of these. I don't even know if I can get this all in the shot here. Let's see. I wanted to make one of these, what Natasha with Treasure Books calls a layered journal. I just loved what she did. Her style is not what I usually go for, but I've been, watching her videos and really love all the different, mediums she uses and colors and vibrant stuff. And I'm so used to making stuff that just looks like, old fashioned ephemera and just very, I don't know, just old fashioned, like turn of the century, and I don't mean this century, I mean the previous century. Um, but just, all different things that look like that. But I decided, you know what, I'm just going to branch out. I'm going to make one of these journals. I would call it almost like an inside out journal because, you start out with the smaller pages are on the outside and you just keep graduating to the larger pages on the inside. Not that we make our journals necessarily stair step the other way, where it's a large piece on the outside and then it gets smaller on the inside. Oftentimes they're just all the same size, so it's no big deal. But I really like this format. I thought it was clever, and I know I won't do, her format justice, but I just thought it was a really neat uh, piece of art, and I wanted to try it. And so I've been working on this, and I've had it on my desk or on my work surface for a couple of weeks now because it is intense. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of pages to it. It's basically, I think, 10 pages. I think I followed the same number that she did. But kudos to her for bringing this about. I know I've seen some other people have, posted some videos about um, also, trying out this format. So it's just really interesting. And like what she said, um, was not really following a specific genre like, shabby chic or kind of similar genre. And it's just sort of a mixed match of kind of old looking stuff and newer looking stuff. So anyway, I had a lot of fun with it. I'm still creating it, but I wanted to show you where I'm at with it. This is the front cover, and I already had a tag that I created from a previous video where I made a bunch of tags out of some things. And so this guy is something that's just, poking out here in the front. So I've got that going on. And let me tell you, I used to have a really good sewing machine. It was, well, it was okay. And I used it for a number of years. I really don't sew that much, but I used it, and then I finally kind of got tired of it. I could never get the tension on the bobbin correct. I've got this serious, look at this shadow going on over here. Anyway, I've, uh, had problems with the tension and just kind of got tired of it. So I got rid of it, and I bought a kind of a, I don't want to say crappy, but maybe crappy. I don't know. I got a much cheaper um, sewing machine that does a lot of stitches, but I'm not sure that it's that great. I have my mother's, it's, oh my gosh, it's over 70 years old. It's a singer. But you know what? If you want to change, like, what kind of stitching you're going to do, like this is a zigzag, obviously, here, you have to basically take the machine apart and put all these attachments, and honestly, you don't even get a whole bunch of the different stitching that you do now. I mean, I can remember taking it apart and putting on the thing that makes the buttonholes. So anyway, it's not great either for this sort of application. But anyway, I tried out the new kind of crappy-ish machine, and I was having trouble getting the stitching, the tension on the bobbin straightened out. So bear with my really um, caveman, cavewoman, whatever stitching that I was trying to do here. But anyway, so I did some zigzag stitching on the front cover. So there you go. And it turned out okay. Um, but you know, it's a little funky. Anyway, another tag from that same project that I did before got to go in here. So I made a little heart, little tuck pocket in the front there. And then this is just one of those, I don't know, is it a name tag? I think so, but I kind of inked it up a little bit and put it on here and made it look like more like a book plate. So I got from Hobby Lobby this set of papers that were very different from what I normally get. And they're kind of bright. They're kind of not old-fashioned looking or faded or anything like that. As a matter of fact, here it is over here. It's a paper studio, and it's just, it's got a lot of fun. It's got some foil. Not all the pages have foil on them. This, I don't know if you can see how kind of shiny, but not all of them have foil. But it just, I don't know. I was really kind of intrigued to get to use this set, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to incorporate a bunch of the pages from this set in this journal. And so I guess technically, I wouldn't say a genre, but I do have some, um, items that I've used that are continuous in this journal. There's that page. I thought that was real pretty. This one does not have foil on it. There's several pages of each. That's pretty. I love green. I did use that one. Thought that was pretty. Anyway, you get the point. These are all real pretty, and it does kind of go along and follows sort of so that's, summer, spring, whatever. And then you get into the fall stuff, which is real pretty. And then you've got some pumpkins, so we're still in the fall. And that's more fall, and I did use that too. I love that page. More pumpkins, and now we're into poinsettias. So clearly it's following, the seasons. And there's more, obviously that looks, well, I think it looks like winter and more winter. So there we go. Anyway, but I thought it was that's gorgeous. And there's more poinsettias. But also, I should point out that this was originally, $20.99. I never want to pay full price for anything. So I got it at a reduced rate of $5.24. So that's a ton of paper. Now they're single-sided, so whatever, but you know what? I can live with that. I thought it was a really cute set. And so I used those within this journal. So that's sort of a continuing theme. Yeah, that's what I mean, theme. It's not necessarily a genre, but I do have a few kind of themes going on within. So anyway, here's this page, and then this. So here's so here's more of me trying to do some sewing. So this was actually, I was just practicing some of the different stitching on this one piece, and came out kind of raunchy looking, but you know what? I thought it could be a belly band. I'll just use it. So here it is as a belly band. Had some lace, kind of roughed it up a little bit and put a button. And this is, so you probably noticed this sitting up here. And I always leave a big pile of all the things that I've used within a project. I keep the pile of stuff nearby because I want to continue to use from that pile. So I had a box of saltine crackers, you know, and so I thought, well, you know what? I'm gonna use some of this cardboard from this because I love to use, I love to repurpose packaging. So anyway, this was part of the cracker box. And so this is made from, and I cut this piece off. So there it is. But I'll show you my pile in a minute. Anyway, so this was just a cardstock cardboard. And I thought, well, you know what? I need some areas where, you can write because I still want it to be sort of a writing journal if it can be. So there we go. Anyway, and so then I've got some, this is really like resume paper. So it's probably like 24-pound copy paper, but you would put your resume on it or whatever. But I don't know why we had it even, but I've had this box of it for a long time. So I had tea stained it. And so that's that. So over here on the other side of it, I've got, again, I was doing some stitching here, but I've got this, I don't know, it's like a bag, a sack made out of, I guess it's really kind of like waxed paper. But anyway, it's a little bit flimsy, so I stuck it there, and I had put these pieces of card inside there, but they didn't really want to stay very well because it's, like I said, it's flimsy, and I didn't want to glue it all the way down, so I just sort of made it a little band that kind of holds it in there, and a little embellishment here. But that way it doesn't, it slides, but it doesn't like go flying. So anyway, that's part of that. And then I had a piece of, or I had a paper doily. And remember, everything you see up to a point, up to the center, is the same as once you hit the center, you go back and you see the other side of these things. So this doily is, in the back. So I'll show you that in a minute. But anyway, I just kind of embellished it and put a little sticker. And that's blank, so you could write on it if you wanted to. And then this is a really old piece of sheet music that I have. And I thought that's why I'm jealous of you. I thought it was just sweet. So that's there, and I haven't done anything with it. It's a little brittle. It's got some tears. I did ink it, but I didn't need to because it's kind of it's really something. Anyway, this is another piece from that paper set, from that pad of paper from the paper studio. So that's there. And this is basically sort of a really rough tablet. This also, I got the idea from the one that Natasha made from Treasure Books that she put together. And so I did sew it together up here and attached it and everything. But this is just a piece of wallpaper that you get in those sheets from the dollar store. I don't know. I've never tried to wallpaper, the wall with those, but I use those all the time. They just have some really sweet designs and stuff. So I'm using those all the time in these kind of paper crafts. So anyway, I just put that up there to kind of cover that up. So we've got this whole kind of, tablet, if you will. And it's great because these are just some random leftover pieces from me cutting. Like this is a piece of notebook paper and copy paper. I'm not sure what this was, but anyway, all that stuff is just leftovers. So that was fun to make that. This pocket is, I guess, it's a, it's some money from the UK or from England. Um, Somebody gave that to me after they went last summer to Scotland. So I guess that's what they used there, but she didn't have a need for it anymore and brought it home. So she gave me a few of these, you know, monies. So I'm sorry if I'm defacing, but anyway, I thought it was really interesting looking, and it's got like, like a see-through area there. So I thought that, and very sturdy. Our paper's made with like, you know, our money is made with, it's paper, but it's got, threads, and I don't know. It's pretty sturdy. I mean, you have to kind of really work at it to tear it, but this stuff is like, I don't know. It's like plastic. It's really, you can just hear. It's just, it's really got some girth to it. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, but it became a pocket here. And so these are some of the pieces that I used in this journal, and I had some leftover pieces, and I thought, well, okay, I will make some little, little writing tablets. So here's just some, different little, and actually a lot of these, maybe all of these, yeah, these are all like register tape or adding machine tape that I love to use. I have a lot of it because I use that, and I still, use that in my work. So these all are part of that set. And I thought, well, I'll embellish them all with butterflies. So, and look, that piece is torn, but who cares? Because those are all, and you could write on the front, you can write on the back, no big deal. And then this one I'm very proud of because this is that matchbook style where it's got a little tuck, and you can tuck your, you know, uh, cover into it. And these pieces are notebook paper. So they've got lines kind of going long ways, not the other way, but that's okay. Oh, yeah, there's some other pieces. These were also some pieces of copy paper that were kind of left over from something else. But anyway, the whole thing, just tucks down in there like a little matchbook. The only thing is every time I move this whole set wants to kind of shift. So this is kind of loosey goosey, but that's okay. I still like it, and I thought these were kind of pretty. So anyway, so here's more. So this is more of the cracker box, if you will. So this is more of the, I didn't originally use this page. I had it torn out, and then I didn't use it for the signature, if you will, or the covers of all these different pages that are in here. But then when I decided I wanted to make some tags, I went back and grabbed it. So I've got this, and I didn't cover the other side. So this is, just the cardboard plain side, the inside of the cracker box. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make it to where you can, write on it, make a list if you want to. So I just kind of drew, kind of made it look like maybe sewing, but, and then I just, made my lines, tried to kind of keep them. I did use a ruler, so they're kind of spaced apart, you know, okay. But anyway, I thought it was cute. So it's just a tag. I haven't, done anything, figured out what I'm going to do yet up here, but I will. And so I just made a tuck pocket out of this side of this page. And this is just plain white. So you could write on it if you wanted to. So here's more of that paper. And I did this, I just glued some lace that I had. It's really kind of a ribbon lace, but put that on there. And then this was again a stark white page, and I don't know, it just hit me that I just needed to kind of make a collage. So I've got, area here and here that you could, write on, whatever. And then also I used so this front cover, this paper is like, it's like craft paper, but it's 12 by 12 um, scrapbook paper. And so I used this, but then I went in and used this. And so I really love this page. And I've got this little flip out here. It carries over to here to the back. And I don't know. I just love paint swatches, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is, can you see it? Yeah. So this is kind of a little flip, and this is using that same one that was on the front cover, because I like to keep using, I kind of, you know, try to be continuous in using pages and papers, and try to use up stuff and make it seem like it's a little bit of, I wouldn't call it uniform, but at least using some of the same stuff over. So anyway, made this little flip, and I've got this, made a little tuck pocket here, and this is actually some more of that page, this page here. And I think what I want to do here, I'm not done yet, but I think I'm going to make a little paper signature here and just call it a just a booklet. I think it's just going to be like that, and it's going to tuck in there. Like I said, I haven't finished this yet. It just keeps evolving, and every day I feel like I come back and I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to add this. Now I don't like that, whatever. So here's another little tag, again from a previous project where I made a bunch of tags. I think this was all the stuff from when I used a Sprite, little mini Sprite box, and made all these different tags and stuff. So I've been using those in different projects, but made a little tuck pocket here, kind of embellished it here. And then this is also a tuck pocket, and I haven't decided what's going in there yet, but we'll see. And then up here, we've got this really interesting, and this is kind of something else that Natasha did, was she took a bunch of, thread and just kind of bunched it up. So I've got a piece of like a burlap looking ribbon down, and then I took my uh, all the threads left over from when I did this crazy trying to, figure out if I could use this machine or not on stitching, and had all these leftover threads. And so just, glued them down. And then I had this really funky button in my button stash. So that's on there, and I just glued that all together. So that's part of it. And the whole point of what she was doing, and I haven't finished yet, but her point was to have just as many like little bits and bobs hanging off of all the different pages and stuff. So I'm working on that part. So, bear with me. So anyway, but this turned out kind of cute, I thought. So, and it's just kind of hanging out there. It's just, and I love that it's, if it's three-dimensional, that's great. That really kind of helps, the interest. So anyway, and then I promise I don't go and just, not steal them, because it's not stealing, but I really do have a lot of paint swatches, because I get a lot of ideas when I'm standing there at the store going through all the paints and stuff. And so I love using these. I use these for bookmarks all the time. And sometimes I, kind of cut them, make them look more like tags. I might, cover the back with something. These are Sherwin-Williams from Lowe's. So I was at Lowe's, I guess. Anyway, I thought they were pretty, and I thought they, even though they don't match this guy, I thought it was kind of pretty to, have the blues over here and have this here. So this page is part of a actually a really large format, probably larger than my centerpiece, which we're coming up to. But I think I cut off the bottom of it. But this is a calendar. And my mom gave me a bunch of calendars. She has these fabulous calendars. Every year she gets, a new calendar hanging on the wall. Oftentimes I'm the one who gives it to her, or my brother and his family, whatever. But she always has these fabulous calendars. So this one was all about birds. So it's a really sturdy, kind of glossy page. And I did do some stitching. Again, not great. I'm trying to figure out, the stitching on my machine. But of course, so this is, this piece of the calendar. So on the back side is, the other, and this is from 2022. If you can see that, it's right there. Not sure. What would that have been? June, maybe. Anyway, but it's upside down. So that's fine. You know what? Because you could write, you can do whatever you want. We could add something here if we want to. I'm not worried about the fact that it's upside down. So anyway, so here is, and I don't even know if I can get it all in the frame, but here's our main center piece, which is a 12 by 12. It's from that same set that I was showing you, and this one's got the foil, so it's got some shinies and stuff. But anyway, so this is our centerpiece, and this is where we sewed the signature in. So the sewing is all right here because there's nothing, going on here. I know that in Natasha's video, she did show that she was able to go ahead and you could just, figure out where to land and sew it up so that you have everything up here involved. But I didn't. And I just did, just the main, uh, area where I knew that everything was attached. So anyway, that's fine. So this is all still blank. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it or not, but it could just be left for writing because, again, this could be a writing journal. And I haven't done anything to embellish my string that's, hanging down here. And I won't figure that out until I'm done because I'm worried that if I do add beads or baubles or whatever down here, I'm I'm still working on it and I could really, kind of mess those up. So I'm going to wait and do that at the very end. So anyway, so this was kind of a weird page. This is a fold out that I created from a file folder, a manila file folder that, I cut, and then this is the fold here, and this is, part of the file folder. And I don't know, this is probably my least favorite part, this side of it anyway. I don't know. I couldn't figure out. I did some decoupaging with, let me show you. I had some um, napkins, and I wanted to see if it would, work, and it did. But then I don't know. The colors just seemed weird, and then I thought, well, what if I cover it with something, but it's still kind of got those same colors that I'm not as crazy about. But and then I just thought, well, you know what? Let's just say be good. Be good. So anyway, I don't know. I may still go back and do some more layering here. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but in here, this was something that I thought was really interesting that Natasha had done. That she did a waterfall of papers, and so it's basically just, I don't know if I can show you. Here you go, and you just keep, you know, layering these down and letting each fall, so that you end up with this waterfall of pages. And I didn't line mine up necessarily. Mine weren't all the same size, so I didn't want to cut them all down to the smallest, which is this one, the smallest width. I wanted to just leave my pages, the size that they were. So I just tried to kind of figure out which ones. And anyway, it turned out okay. And then I ended up with this sort of band that, again, from that uh, paper that's, just really more like craft paper. But, and then just gave it a little tuck down here, and again with the butterfly. So I kind of have some themes going on, and I will tell you that these pages are from a calendar that I had that was kind of like a spiral, like write-in calendar, and it was actually 2020. And I was looking through here because I can see there's November, there's March, there's November, there's December. I think it was kind of like a week at a glance, but that is calendar fodder there. And so if you want to go, okay, we got a theme going here. Remember, I've got a calendar going here. And if you really want to get into it, over here, these particular things are from a desk calendar. You don't know that because I've cut them, but they were like a little desk calendar that you kind of flip the pages every month, and I used to have it on my desk. And I'm not sure what this is supposed to be, but this definitely looks like a flamingo. And then this is just sort of a, so maybe it was kind of tropical. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Is that a monkey? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Anyway, but I thought they were interesting. So they're in here, and you can use them for like bookmarks or whatever you want to use them for. So there they are. But anyway, the point being, calendars. So those were pieces from calendars, and I've lost my place, and here we are. So calendars. So there's another kind of a theme that was going on. Okay, so we've come to the center, we're flipping over, now we're heading back. We're going back down in size. So this is the centerpiece. This is the other side of my calendar page, and look at how pretty the little bird on the other side is. And see, it's kind of shiny, so kind of got a little gloss to it, a little gleam, but he's so cute. So anyway, so this is just, the front of a really pretty card that I got, who knows when, from who, where, whatever. But I always save stuff like that, especially if I love, the design on it, and this some kind of watercolor of irises. And and I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to put a tag like I did, back over here. Where's my big tag? Right there it is. Yeah. So am I going to do that? Maybe. I don't know. But there's that piece. So I'm just leaving it in there as a placeholder in case that's what I end up doing. I don't know yet if I'm going to do that or not. But it's my right to decide. And I just think this is a really interesting, it's just so sturdy, this craft paper. It's just, and I love the designs and stuff. So I'm interested to do a journal with, kind of using mostly that, and maybe just some softer brown paper with it. Anyway, and then we've got the other side of this page, which I love these colors. It's kind of like the secondary colors on a color wheel. I mean, it's the purples, the oranges, the greens. There's a little bit of blue and red in here, but it's mostly, kind of the purple and the orange and the green. And I don't know, I just love that color combination. So anyway, but I had flipped this over and have a little tuck pocket here. So figured I could put something in there. I don't know what it's going to be yet. Again, more cracker box fodder with this little pocket here. This is just some washi tape that I stuck on there. I thought it was pretty. And this page had some wax paper, so I put that down. I don't know if you can see, but it's the base. And then I've had these that I've been using that I had printed out from some from an Etsy store. Use that, more of this I have so many of these little postage stamp stickers, so trying to use those up. And here again is another thing that Natasha did, where she took an actual uh, tablet, and I cut this one down so that it would fit in my belly band, but um, use up the tablet, but it's freeform. So once you're done with it, you just replace it with another tablet. So there's a belly band here, again, with some stitching that I tried out, a little bit of embellishing up here, and this just slides down inside here, and you can just, write to your heart's content on either side. It's got a white background. So we've got that. There's the other side of that. And here's the other end of our sheet music. And I just loved it. I thought maybe I was going to make another pocket, but I hated to seal it up because I thought this was interesting that it said, "Don't forget to hear I'm still carrying a great tune." Anyway, it's just, I just love sheet music. And this is, let's see, copyright MCM XXIS. So XXIX. So 1929 by Forster Music Publisher, made in the USA. I don't know. It's almost 100 years old. And even though it's a little bit, crinkly and a little brittle and frail, I love it. I love the color of it. You could write on it if you want to. I don't know. But I just want to have it in there. So whatever. So you can see that here is the other side of this paper doily. And so it's living on this side, and this I actually kind of glued down the ends so that I can make it sort of a tuck pocket. And this is so a this is a comment card, actually. I thought it was a postcard, but it's a comment card from a restaurant that's local here in Dallas, via Triozzi, and they've got a Robert Browning quote or part of a poem of his on here. But anyway, I love, every time I go somewhere, I grab whatever ephemera. I know I grabbed a book of matches from there, but that's fun, and you could just write down whatever and do whatever you want. So there's that. And here's the other side of that marble resume paper. And so I just left this blank, kind of inked it up. So good for writing on either side. Oh, and here again, this is part of that calendar that I used for the waterfall paper. This is just one of the pages, and I think there's some of my writing down in there. But just made a tuck pocket out of that, and haven't decided what to put in there yet. Here's the other side of this page, and then this. So this is a mess. So when trying to figure out about sewing this zigzag pattern, I should have really done some more sewing before I tried to actually, do it on the page I was going to use. But oh my gosh, the tension was so messed up on the bobbin that it was just making a huge mess, which, if you're into it, it's like, oh, well, that's really interesting looking. Well, it's a mess in the world of sewing, but whatever. I went with it, and it was, all along here and here, and I knew I wanted to put some sort of a belly band, but I felt like I better cover that up just to kind of keep it from, and I'll probably put something here just because I want to keep this from fraying and coming undone and everything. So I put some more paper doily, a small one that I had. I cut it up and glued it down here. So I'll probably put like a little booklet maybe right here. I don't know. But anyway, I've still got a lot to do. But that's the back of it. So we're flipping it over, and it's getting quite chunky. I've done some embellishing. I've got some things sticking out, but I don't have nearly as much as she did. I was kind of thinking about this little I guess from the dollar store, or maybe it's from Target back when they had dollar things. Anyway, this little thing from some packaging I thought about putting on one of these pages, maybe this one. Maybe I'll, put it here and attach it and embellish it, and then maybe put a grommet here and have, a ribbon kind of sticking out this way, because I did want to have a few more things kind of outlining the borders of all these different pages and stuff. So I don't know, but I'm going to work on it. And I just wanted to show you guys where I'm at with it. It has to live out here so that every day when I, kind of come in and look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to add this, or oh, I'm going to do that, or, just different things. So that's where I'm at with it for now. And I will continue to add to it and hopefully get done with it. And see, that's already moved. Just kind of wants to move around, but I'm not too mad about it. Anyway, but I'll finish up this video showing you everything else that I did and how it came out, and I'll see you when I do that here in a little bit. Okay, so you just saw me finally get around to um, making this little booklet. I was having trouble. I can't find my stapler. I have a bigger stapler that I know I can, that'll fit stapling something that long or wide, but I couldn't find it. So anyway, I had to improvise, and it worked out fine. But this is the little booklet that I made to go in here. And I just used some of the pieces of that calendar that I was talking about. So that calendar is actually from 2020 and 2019. It must have been like an 18-month, I don't know. Anyway, but just some sweet little pages where you can still, write on them or whatever. I guess you could do it this way if you wanted to, but there's plenty of lines and, dots and different things to help if you're like me and when you write it just goes downhill. Anyway, but I thought that was sweet and just stapled that in there, and it just needs to kind of live in there and get happy with its fold. Anyway, and then has a little flap to kind of keep it all together. So I was happy with it, and I wasn't sure. I thought, this is where I wanted to originally put it, and that's probably where it'll live, but I did notice that it also would fit in this front tuck, but I was thinking more like a tag or something there, but I don't know. We'll see. For now, he's going to live over here and be happy. So I just love that print. That is so pretty. And I had mentioned that I was going to show you my pile. So this is all this these scrap pieces from that calendar that I still have, and I still have some. I mean, I have some full sheets that have some really cute little sayings and poems and stuff on them. It was just a really sweet little calendar. But anyway, so I've got that stuff, but then this is my pile that's, amassing on my desk from this project. And so I've got, of course, this piece that I've been using now, and my cracker box. I'm still, still have those pieces in there that I want to make some tags out of. And then this was some of the craft paper, scrapbook paper that I was using because, when in doubt, I mean, just grab a piece of this because it goes with everything, right? But this is all the little pieces, and I don't remember if this was actually something or if I just thought that was interesting looking, but I could see where I could, it would get torn and it's already tearing, but it's just a piece of stuff and just little tears that, probably won't get used. I had cut out, a little heart out of this piece. This is some of that wallpaper that comes from the dollar store, and you never know when you're gonna, need it. I actually, if you'll recall, I used it to cover up the top of some stitching and stuff. So anyway, there's just all these little pieces. I'll use them in something else if it's, some of the pieces are kind of small and they'll just go away. This was something I had cut out and I thought I was going to use somewhere. Little dot, little circle, still lots of little torn up things. There's the other name tag that I had kind of grunged up, and I did them both at the same time, but I'm probably not going to use another one in there since I already used one. And there's a piece of notebook paper that I used part of, and these are those napkins that I decoupage. So I don't know. I see here's that little doily that I used to cover up that crazy stitching. Just lots of random stuff. Here's more of that tablet. It's like a grocery list tablet. And I don't know what I cut that out for. I don't remember, but I needed it for something. But anyway, so there's the rest of that. And I do have some tea bag material that I had started to put in there. I may still use it just, as a back, like a backdrop or a base for something, some sort of an embellishment. So I'll hang on to that. More of that stitched stuff. There's my little heart. I'm probably not going to use anything else out of this. This is some pretty flimsy paper. So anyway, but this is my stash left over. That was that little, but I'll use that. That was that little bag. But this is all stuff that there that I used. So we'll see. There's more of the stitching. There's a little heart. Anyway, so I'm not sure if any of this is going to help me in my quest to get those cracker box tags, because I'm thinking they're going to be tags, but I don't know. I don't know if any of this is going to be really usable. So who knows? But anyway, so I'm going to keep trudging along and working on the tags. And I think I'm probably just going to have to go, back and look for some more paper. Maybe I'm sure I have some paper that needs to be used up. But it probably, I won't be using this so much unless I do something sort of like a masterboard. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I need to kind of, well, it wouldn't be a true masterboard, but maybe I need to take one of the pages, one of the cards, and just, you know, collage it like a masterboard and just stick a bunch of stuff to it. I don't know. It may get really messy looking, but there's probably an opportunity there. So maybe one of them I'll do that. So, and then I need to cut it down just a little bit, but I don't mind having a larger format tag in there, especially if I do it like I did the other one where I have the lines and you can actually use it, or we could even, put yet another pad of paper in there. I don't know. It's really getting chunky. So anyway, but I'm going to trudge on and try to kind of get this finished. I don't know, finished. At least to the point where I feel like I can put it away, because I've got like 5 other things that I want to start working on, and I just keep leaving this laying out because I know that I don't feel like it's finished. So I don't know, are we ever finished, But anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm going to keep going and I'll report back, and hopefully this won't take too long. Okay, so I am working on trying to get this thing finished up, and I have decided that I'm pretty much almost done trying to use up all these scraps. I've got a lot of pieces here. I still have some, large format pieces that I might be able to use. I've got my craft paper pieces. I've got that beautiful piece. I don't know. I'm getting tired of all these scrappy craps that are left out. Scrappy craps. Scrappy scraps or crappy scraps. I don't know. Maybe it's all of it. I don't know if I'm going to use this or not. But anyway, and I don't even think I ended up using any tea bags yet, but we'll see. But I'm nearing the end here, so let me get this stuff kind of out of the way. But I did want to say that I did end up using several of the scraps. Let's see, where is that thing? Still trying to decide what to do there. Okay, so this was one of the pieces from the cracker box, one of the panels, and I did do sort of a collage. I was talking about a masterboard, but I didn't do a masterboard and cut it up. It was already this size basically. So, but it's, it's a really large format tag. Look at, that next to my hand. That's pretty big. But I used a lot of the scraps in this and just kept pasting stuff on, tearing stuff, inking stuff, and just sort of made it kind of collagey. So I'm happy with it. I put a little tab up here. I'm going to, probably do a grommet, and I think I'll do probably a ribbon, like a crinkly ribbon, something kind of a bright color or whatever, just because I don't have anything like that in here yet. So, we'll see. But that, and then on the back, because I still want to kind of keep that writing, I still want it to be a writing journal. So, I want to leave plenty of room for any kind of writing, if that's, how it works out for whoever, whatever. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. It may just go live in the drawer. I don't know, but we'll see. But anyway, so I've, still got a few things to do to it, but I feel like I'm getting close. More of that. I'm bound and determined I'm going to use that whole cracker box in this thing. So maybe that's going to be a tag that goes in here. I don't know. But I'm feeling like, and again, I'm not trying to have a theme, but I do have, you know, a lot of this paper that is the craft paper stuff. And you know, there was a set that I used. As a matter of fact, it's right here. I'm going to set that off to the side. And this is the set that I used for the cover page and this beautiful page. I just love that. Love that that color and that feel. It's just, you know, it's a good sturdy stock, and I just really like it. So this also was Paper Studio from Hobby Lobby, and like I said, I don't like to pay full price, and this one was not on clearance, but it was part of the 40% off sale that they, you know, they have every other week. Everything's on sale. Like every week something's on sale, but you know, if it's not on sale this week, wait until next week, because that group of stuff will be on sale. Anyway, it's such a weird situation, but you get to where you get used to it and you figure out when you should go when there's certain things that you want. So anyway, but I really liked this set, and this is a huge, I mean, it's 60 sheets, and it's, even though it's only one-sided, you know, so it's blank on the other side, which is not a horrible thing, but it's, you know, just a really huge bunch of stuff. This one in particular is called Haberdashery, and this has glitter craft glossy foil elements in it. So it's got some kind of shiny outline stuff. This is kind of a pretty, I don't even know if you can see all this. Let me try to get that. There we go. I was trying to zoom out so you could see the whole thing. But, and here's some more of that, which is pretty. This one's a little more red. What I used was kind of more brown. But that's real neat, and that's got some more of the outline stuff that kind of shows up kind of differently, and it almost has a little bit of a gloss to the paper. And that's pretty. But anyway, as I go through this, I will get to, that's kind of neat. And there's even, so look at this. This has got glitter, and that's what it was talking about as far as the glitter goes, which could be cool. I'm not saying I wouldn't use it in this application, in this journal, but I did find this page, which I always love any kind of, you know, like printed word stuff. So I marked it with one of those. But I think that this would be really cool. And I'm just going to tear that right off of there and get this out of the way. And I think that this would be neat to just make several cards just as it is. I'm not going to try to, like, you know, do anything weird to it or cover it, or I just think I'm going to cut this up and I'm going to use it, you know, probably in some areas where I need just some extra things that I don't already have. Oh my goodness, what a journey this journal has been for me. Um, I won't say that I, wanted to back out, but there were times when I was thinking, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing? It's it's consuming my life." And I think it's really just about the fact that I wanted to get done with it, and um, but you shouldn't always rush through things, but I feel like I have to finish something before I can really get started on other things. However, there are some other projects sitting over aside to the side on my desk, but I was just kind of ready to, you know, see what this became. So I think I'm there. I think this is how it went. And so I took you along on the journey for a few things. For some things I did not. I got in here and worked a little bit more on embellishing, and so I decided on just, instead of beads, for my signature sewing strings that hang out, I have a bunch of these little keys. I have I don't know, a whole bag of them. I guess maybe they're Tim Holtz. I'm not sure, but they're so sweet and they're so cute. And I don't know where I got this. I've had this for a long time. I was doing some major digging in some little drawers and for all these different little baubles that I have, which also gave me inspiration to use those other things that I found eventually. So anyway, but I just thought this was cute. Just a little key and lock. Kind of makes it look like a diary, but not really because the lock's not on there. It's just dangling. But anyway, so here's how it came out. And so I'd already, this was already, I had already done this before I got started on the video, but I've got my tag in the front. I've got a little embellishing here. I've got my heart tag up here. I've got, pocket, and I've got one of my tags that I had created in an earlier project video, and I'm using that here. That was also this one was used from that as well. And then I went back and was telling you about this paper that I was loving from that set. And I do love it. And I did utilize it in several places. So you'll see that as we go. But I've got just a sweet little tag right there. I've got my book plate looking situation here. This is one of the pieces of cracker box that I utilized in there. This is just those pieces of card that I stuck in there from a calendar. And there's my little band that's kind of helping hold it in there in my little pocket. This is my doily. This is my really, I think I keep ripping this, but I'm not getting rid of it. And I love it. And yeah, so it's staying, and it's staying just like it is. And then I've got this. So this, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, but I was going to put this on here, but I decided, because it eventually is going to have something dangling. I haven't decided yet, or maybe it's just going to look like this. I'm not sure. But I decided it was too far forward up here. So I wanted it to lay back a little bit. So that's why it's not on this page. But I'm actually kind of glad, and I'll show you here in a minute why. But this is my little tablet made out of all kind of scrappy bits of paper. And this is my pocket that I will forever curse that I made out of this money, because I can't get these guys to like lay still, but that's okay. It's not going anywhere. Like I said, this stuff is really sturdy. And these are my little tablets with all different manner of paper, register tape type stuff. And this one's the one that looks like a matchbook, so I'm real happy with that. It's got a little tuck, so that's that there. That one's got some different paper in it, and it doesn't matter really which one goes where in this thing because they just keep moving around anyway. But they've got the butterfly theme, and they're using scrap pieces from the larger format pieces that I use throughout the journal. And this is part of that cracker box, the saltines box. And so I made this cute tag, and only just wrote or drew on the back. You could put a list on here, whatever you want to do. I used this really hairy, funky ribbon. It was really weird. At first, I thought it wasn't going to be that great, but I really like it. And I like just the different texture that it gives off. And so then you see over on this page, which is, I had already glued my ribbon down for interest on that page, but I did use a piece of this paper and made a little tab here. Just, and I don't know if I'm going to dangle anything from it or not. On Natasha, she used something down here, and you can't see what I'm saying. She used something down below and had 3 grommets, and she had the cutest little matchy, I think they were hearts, and she had them, on there with rings. I don't know if I have any of those rings. I've got to go back to my stash and look. But if I do, maybe that's what's going to be on here. But I did put them kind of further up in the paper here into the card. So I'm not sure. It'd have to be a pretty big ring in order to clear this space here. But again, I'm not sure that this isn't just going to be what it is. Or maybe, I tie like a piece of leather or a ribbon or something and go through both and just do a bow that's hanging off the side. I don't know. We'll see. This is my collage page. This is one of those great pieces I was talking about that is that craft paper. This is a little flip out that I made. I created this little booklet, and it's just a bunch of scrap pages from another calendar. Still got a few pages sitting over here, you can see. So at some point I'm going to use those all up, but like I said, I still have others even. This just sort of flips over and it goes into its own little tuck here. And here's another one of those pieces from that page that I was showing you that I really, really like. And it's just, you could just write on it. You could use it as a bookmark. And here again is another tag from that project that was the one that I made all those tags out of a Sprite box. And I've got another piece of that paper over here. So it's tucked in here. And, everything doesn't have to have a bajillion things on it. I mean, it doesn't need embellishment. So I think it's okay just using it like it's, meant to be, some plain paper. And then here's all my kind of crazy, my burlap with my string and my funky button that I found in my button stash. So that's embellishing, and you can, see that. So there's interest there. And then I've just got a tuck pocket over here, and that's just tucking in a couple of paint swatches. And then my calendar that's beautiful with my birds on it. And of course that part's upside down and we don't care. You can write on it and do whatever you want to. And here's our center page. And I did go ahead because this thing was driving me nuts. I don't know, something about this piece of paper. It was too pink. Of course I've added pink because I do want to tie in the colors, but it just was driving me. It was just too much. It was too much of one thing. So I made a tuck pocket out of, yes, some of this leftover calendar pages. And this was from, actually I haven't even finished this video yet, but I took, disassembled a book, a children's book that was in horrible shape, and took a bunch of pages out and made some tags and made some bookmarks and stuff. And this in particular is from Henry and Ribsy Go Fishing. If you, if you're my age, you grew up reading Beverly Cleary books and like Ramona the Pest and Henry Higgins. And anyway, so this was kind of a throwback for me. And I really enjoyed getting to make that. Yeah, copyright 1954. So it's actually older than me, but not by much. So anyway, but so that's just a tag that I made, and it goes right there, and I really love it. And then this is my flip out file folder, and it's attached here, but there's nothing going on. All kinds of room to write over here. And this is my little waterfall tablet, again utilizing those pages from the calendar. And it's just very rough way of doing that, a lot rougher than the way Natasha did it. She had hers all perfectly trimmed out, and I didn't, and I'm sorry, but that's okay. I still like it. It's there. So anyway, so there goes that. So now we're going back the other direction. Our pages are getting smaller, sort of. This one was wider. Remember my crazy stitching. I was learning my new machine, which I'm not that happy with yet, but we'll see. I may get used to it. And here's the other side of that little birdie calendar. Just love that. This was a card that I really liked. And so this is yet another piece of the cracker box. And I had this, you can actually kind of see the word premium if you really look hard enough underneath there. But this is some wrapping paper that I had, and I don't even know where I got it from, but I've had it for a really long time. Um, Probably somebody gave it to me because they know that I love pansies. I kind of have a thing for pansies. Um, but it's so sweet, and it says I'm in the garden, which I was just in the garden a couple of hours ago. So, but I covered it, with some stained paper. I think that was stained. It looks stained anyway, and then inked it. And I just flipped, I had a piece and I just kind of carried it over. So this is just a fold. And I just realized I don't think that I inked this yet. So I'll go back and ink the edges of the tag. But I did end up using a little piece of tea bag. So I've got some tea bag underneath here. And then I used some more of my words that I had printed out. Blessed are the curious, or blessed are the curious, depending on how you want to say that. And just, this came out of my ribbon stash. So I've got a little, kind of put it off to the diagonal there so it would be sticking out. So this is in here. And then that beautiful piece, and I don't want to cover that up. So I have to tattle on myself. When I started using those other pieces that had the printing on them, what am I talking about? I'm talking about these. When I had this, I thought, well, you know what? I needed some more kind of larger pieces because I cut these into smaller pieces. And so I went back through that book and I found this paper. So it's this, and it's got a little bit of sheen to it. But I thought, well, this is kind of ties in, and of course it's from the same set, so of course it ties in. But I wanted to make like a little booklet, so I just did this thing where I folded it over and I just did a stapled booklet, and didn't really want to do anything too crazy with it because I knew I was going to be tucking it in this side tuck here. So that's it. That's all I did, was just took a piece, folded it over, inked it up, rounded the corners, and just stuck some extra paper that I had. And, it's not a huge booklet, but I didn't want to make it too thick because we're already verging on, major bulge here on this whole journal. So anyway, so that's living there. Uh, the other part of the cracker box, so this was the one that I did that was collagey looking, and I added just some plain paper back here in case anybody wanted to write on it, and I put a crinkly ribbon. And then we get over here, and this is just an embellishment with some wax paper and some printed paper and a cute little stamp sticker. And this is a tablet that was already a thing, and I just cut down the back so that I could use it in this belly band. So that lives right there. Embellished that page a little bit, and this is, the other side of that. Here's our sweet little 1929 music. And then I've got that comment card from that restaurant, but I also did a little tabby card, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll just put a little tab on it. So this is more of that beautiful paper that I found, so I just stuck it in here. And I thought, well, that way it kind of gives, because everything's a little light colored on this whole set, so I thought maybe, I could put it in front, but I don't know, I just thought it looked, you could see that it's there, so that's good. Plenty of paper, writing real estate right here and here. And again, I grabbed another of that piece, and this is almost like a postcard, and you could use it for that, if you wanted to. And I even have a stamp that would make it look like a postcard, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let, if anybody ends up with this, they can do it. So again, part of that calendar that I've been using. And then I finally just used one of these just did a little, fancy corner work right here, but this was from that other paper that had all the printing on it. And so I just left that blank. So I think I'm basically calling this done. If I end up keeping it, obviously I'll add stuff to it. You never know, I may switch out tags, but I think it's pretty cute, and I appreciate, really appreciate Natasha with Treasure Books introducing this. I don't know if she, came up with it, but if she did, kudos to her. But I thought it was just a really cool project, and I enjoyed doing it, even though I kind of stressed myself out a little bit here and there worrying about getting it finished. But it's a huge thing. I mean, it's a commitment. It's a time commitment and a materials commitment, which I have plenty of materials. I don't know if I have plenty of time, but you know, you just need to make time to do this kind of stuff because it's fun. It can be therapeutic, and that's kind of why I do it. I just, really enjoy just sitting here and coming up with ideas. And sometimes I lay in bed at night and come up with ideas. So who knows how it all works. But anyway, I love it and I'm very proud of it. And I hope that you guys like it. And I hope that it'll inspire you to do one as well if you haven't already. And I'd love to, hear about it or see about it in the comments if you want to, post a picture or let me know about it. I'd love to know. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the next project and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.